Let's get to our weekly Pens poll and talk a little bit about Tristan Jarry because he's heading into the final season of his contract, looking to earn a big payday at the end of the year. The question we asked on Twitter at Ice-Burgh Podcast was, will Tristan Jarry finish with more or less than 35 wins this season? Horwat, what do you believe the answer to this question is, in your opinion?
So if you were to set the number at 34 and a half, if you will, for all you betting fans out there, nice shirt,
Exactly.
by the way.
Thank you very much.
I would have to say he goes with the over. I think he has an improvement this year. It's hard to improve on 34 wins. It is. But I do think it's totally possible. I do think he can have a step up into the 35 plus win column because you have to figure he had 34 and missed the end of the season with an injury.
Mm-hmm.
More than likely, he was going to get a 35th, maybe even a 36th, maybe even a 37th win last season. So if he stays status quo per se, but remains healthy, then he should crush 34 into 35 at least. So I think he has an improvement just because also he's got a contract year.
Mm-hmm.
The last year's contract, he's fighting for some big money. And I mean, he played 58 games. I don't know if we want him going too far past that. But again, the injury held him out from a handful. So he could have hit 60. Let's say nothing changes goaltending wise. He remains healthy and he plays 60 games. He should be able to win 35 of those.
Mm-hmm.
He should be able to win a couple more than 35 of those. So I'm going to say he does get more than 35. I don't know what the odds are on BetMGM, if you will, or whatever.
Hey, listen, no free ads.
That's what I was going to say, or whatever sports betting place you use. But I do see him going over on the 34 and a half to 35, if you will.
It would be 35 and a half if we're playing this, because he did finish with 34 last season. Yeah. And it's interesting because when you look at last year from the league-wide perspective, 7 guys hit that 35 win mark. Tristan Jarry was 8th on that list with 34.
Yep. It's hard. It's hard to go up when you're already that close to the ceiling, but it's possible.
There were some guys with 40-plus wins. I wouldn't be surprised if Tristan Jarry is able to do that because, first and foremost, I think the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to be a good team again this year, which is the first thing you have to talk about, whether or not the team's going to be good, and the Penguins will be good this season. 85%, by the way, we didn't even get into the poll results. 85% of our listeners and our voters say that he's going to finish with more than 35 wins. So very confident our Penguins fans in Tristan Jarry's ability to notch wins this season. 15% said less. I'd love to hear their argument because I don't agree with it. I do think he finishes with more. Last season's 34 that we've both mentioned a couple times was his career high. So I think that he's only going to get better this season. We saw him reach some very high heights last season, top 3 at points and goals saved above expected. He did have a little bit of a lull, but he does that every once in a while. And most goalies do. It's a long season. And he played so much hockey last year, especially early on in the season when DeSmith wasn't doing very well.
Yeah.
I think ideally Casey DeSmith or whoever the backup ends up being starts 25 to 30 games, which gives Tristan Jarry around 50 to 55 games to get to 35 wins. And I do think that you have to be a very good team to get that. But I also think the Pittsburgh Penguins are there. So I think that Tristan Jarry gets that. And then I think he also gets a really big payday in the offseason.
Yes, he does. And you have to, I mean, he definitely has to have the good core of guys in front of him. Like, it's the reason why people didn't look at Fleury the right way for so many years. Oh, it's because he has young Sidney Crosby, young Evgeny Malkin in front of him to score goals and win games for him. Sure, that as a goalie, that is definitely part of it. No doubt, because after all, your forwards and your defensemen are the ones scoring the goals and getting the points, but you're the ones making the saves. So if everything rolls on all cylinders for the Penguins this year, even in fewer games, I said him playing, if everything was to stay status quo and he plays 60, he should definitely be able to hit 35. But even if he does play fewer and plays around, like you said, 50 to 55, he should still be able to do it then too. Because he's got a lot to play for. He's looking to get that huge payday. He's looking to get a nice big contract. And everyone we ever talked to says he is amongst some of the best in the league. So everything should come up Jarry, if you will, for this season.
Yeah, and something that you have to take into account as well. The Penguins had the third best penalty kill in the league last year. Jari is a big part of that, but the other part of that is the fact that the Penguins just genuinely have a good penalty killing unit, which is going to help win games. Secondly, I think the defensive core is better this season. I think adding a guy like
Mhm.
Jeff Petrie instead of Mike Matheson is going to improve your defense. I think adding a guy like Jan Ruda is obviously really good. And if you want to go defense heavy for a game, we haven't seen it in training camp. Ruda Ruhwedel as a third pairing,
That
pretty
could
good.
go. That could go.
It's a pretty good third pairing right there. You have the net clearing guy, you have the guy in Chad Ruhwedel who's able to move the puck and he's very defensively responsible. But I think overall the Pittsburgh Penguins defensively are better this year than they were last season, which is also going to help Tristan Jarry. It's also going to help the Pittsburgh Penguins win games because they can keep the score on the opposing side lower, which when you have Crosby and Malkin and you're in those close games and you need a goal, we've seen so many times in the past 17 years, they can be the ones to go out there and get it. So I think it's going to be a good year for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I know it might sound a little homerism with that, but seeing the way they looked in training camp, seeing what their season prospectus is like, and seeing Tristan Jarry head into a big season of his personal career
Mhm.
with 34 last year, gonna be able to hopefully not have to worry as much about his backup this season. I think he accomplishes it, and I think he gets that 36th win this year, hopefully more.